Hi there, my name is Dominic and I consider myself a music composer. And this is a kind of a random thought here. I would title this music composition from the act of noodling. And what we have here on the sequence of stuff of Reason 7.1 is is a few bars of what might be called a noodle. Okay, and a noodle really is just when you sit down at the keyboard and play with both hands. And actually, in fact, this is probably an edited version of a much longer noodle, because a noodle can be anything up to like 10 minutes long or 20 minutes long. It could be about 400 or 500 bars long. And then you've got the terrible job of going through a noodle um, and looking at all the bits that you can take out. And I think this probably is an edited noodle, but it is a noodle. And if this was a poem, and we were being very polite about somebody's poetry, we would probably say, well, it's got some good ideas in it, but it's probably got maybe three poems in that one poem. In other words, it's a shapeless baggage, all right? Um, so what we've got to do now, if we can, or maybe it stands as a sort of an entity on its own, we've got to kind of find phrases that are interesting and that could be developed. Um, and this is not going to be very easy. But anyway, we'll just play it and just see what we think, really. You can see that's all the dynamics there. That's a sustain pedal, rather a lot of sustain pedal. Surely too much. And you can actually pull that down a bit, and you can pull that down a bit so you can see all the MIDI there. And in actual fact, you can zoom out as well. And I'll sort of come back to all. And that's all the MIDI there. Left hand and right hand. Right hand obviously at the top, left hand at the bottom of the lower pitches. And as you can see, a lot of broken chords and kind of twiddly bits. Actually, I don't even believe that this was actually played with just two hands. I think there's probably like a third hand. In other words, there were two note lanes. This is a note lane here, and there were two note lanes being played. And you kind of he had the kind of left hand, right hand, and then I played like a little bit with my right hand over the top. But we'll come back to that later. Actually, how to set up a noodle, and basically, so that's all the MIDI. So we'll just give it a quick run through. Okay, so that's our little noodle of the day. And it is kind of a bowl full of noodles, really. Um, because, I mean, I could call this like, oh, 5 stars, got a lot of material to work with here. But in actual fact, I'm really almost tempted to put it in in 1 star because, you know, it's just like, where do you begin? I mean, you've got kind of like a very tentative start, sort of up to about here, and then it sort of begins to crescendo. You can see the dynamics increasing there, and it's got like a kind of a sort of a climaxical kind of section here, and then it goes all very dissonant and abstract, which perhaps is probably the most interesting part of the entire piece. Um, and it is supposed to be, it's in the tragic poignant folder. And then it kind of settles down, it becomes quite lyrical. And we got a sort of formation of a brief melody line here, which is, played rather, I mean, there's no coordination between left and right hand. This is too loud and this is too soft. So there's a disparity between the dynamics here. And then it's kind of like tails off it. It's got quite a nice sort of chord progression down here, and then it finishes. So I mean, I also think that this is a little bit imitative. This section here. Let me see. Emerging from dissonance into consonance. An harmonic change. Too loud. Bit dissonant. And sort of minor key there. Resolving. Kind of a jazz cliche there. To the end. All with too much pedal, of course. Although that sounds quite bright and nice. Um, and the dissonant section here. So you can see really that noodling is all right, but when you consider that, normally if you're kind of like if you're a melody writer and you get up one day and you start singing and you like I do, and you get a melody in your head and you just put the melody down, that's one thing. Or if you're into chords, if you're a guitarist, then you're going to be playing around with chords, or at least diatonic progressions anyway, and you're just going to be like doing that. But if you're kind of noodling and you've got both hands sort of working independently of one another, then you're going to come up with a completely sort of shapeless kind of thing here, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, what can I do really, But as you kind of look at the MIDI, and let's face it, MIDI is kind of hard to look at really, especially if you're a notation writer. You kind of, what the hell's going on here? So the whole of this tentative start, if I double click on the start in there, very tentative start, almost non-existent really. Although there's a bit of a melody emerging. It's in a minor key and it's kind of nice. Really, it's like it almost wants to stop there. If it goes to 16 bars, but it actually goes to really it goes to like bar 15, and I think it loses the plot after that really. This is almost like and we have to talk about phrasing as well, because the other thing, you see, if you have a chord progression or a melody, then the chances are, very good chances, you're going to have like a definite phrase structure, which we'll come on to, like a beginning, a middle, and an end. Um, Whereas with a noodle, you know that things kind of merge into each other, and where's the end? Where's the well, the beginning might be there. Where's it end? And where does the other one start? You know, because it goes on, and then it's like a different. There's a kind of different piece. I mean, it's sort of related to the other one, and then it goes all a bit crazy here. This is all just rubbish, like really, you know. And from there, go into this kind of dissonant, which is kind of horrific, kind of tragic, grief. I like it actually. It's quite swirly, and it gets even more dissonant, and then it kind of emerges out of there. So you see, and then it goes into the other piece just done. So you can see there. I mean, what does that consist of? You see, where does it begin? Where does it end? It kind of emerges into the light just about there. So you see, really, the point of this video is to show that noodling is all right, and of course you just hit record button, and it will record everything that you do faithfully, and you'll end up with like hundreds of bars, or you know, at least 200 bars, full of stuff, full of lots of ideas. But then it's a matter of carefully isolating the ideas if you can. And creating a piece of music from that central idea that you kind of were inspired to create at the time of the noodling. But noodling is a big problem because of this kind of merging of different ideas, sometimes conflicting ideas, sometimes contradictory ideas. So now we're going to have to go through this really carefully and try and find thematic ideas that we can develop and expand. So noodling is good. Noodling is good, and possibly always was the basis of music composition. As somebody said, what about Chopin, Mozart, Beethoven? Did they not improvise? Didn't they noodle? I don't know. I don't know how they composed, really. Possibly a mixture of both. Noodling and having a definite idea in your head and putting it down on notation paper. Probably how they actually did work. Maybe they had an idea of the melody in the head, and you could just write it down, or a chord progression, and you wrote that down, and you put that in your notebook, and then you went back to it after and thought about the technical side of things and how to expand it. With a noodle, all you really get is a fresh flush of enthusiasm and conceptual grasping, if you like. But then, you know, it's only 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration, because now you've got to develop and expand and intellectualize or intellectually analyze the thematic idea in order to expand it, in order to develop it. So I just thought of a bit of a random rant about noodling and its place within music composition. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.